that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
I'm gonna stand up for this one. It's really hot in my room and I don't want to do it in there, but luckily no one's home right now, so it's a little bit easier to do this. Also, lens flare. I don't know what that's all about. J.J. Abrams corrupts everything. He corrupted the sequels. He corrupted Star Trek. Now he's here. I can't escape him. Anyway, I lied. I found the other stuff. I found the Bounty Hunter's guidebook, and I found the Imperial Handbook, which I originally had thought wasn't Legends, but after doing some investigation, it is in fact technically Legends, so I'm going to include it, but we're not going to discuss that here. It's going to be a separate video, but here we are. We have the Bounty Hunters Guild Code. I don't know exactly where you would place this. I guess you could place this sometime after the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy. I don't know. This is one of the weaker ones. Like, I think the Jedi Path and the Sith book, pretty good, actually. This is pretty standard. I mean, if you want to learn a lot about the lore of the bounty hunters and how they work in the Star Wars setting, this is a good, like, thing for you to get. I mean, I already found it kind of silly in the other two, but I find it absolutely ridiculous, especially in this one, that these bounty hunters would be going out of their way to scribble on parchments of this Bounty Hunters Guild. You know, I can buy it with the Jedi Path. I can even buy it with the Sith book. But here, I just don't see it. I really don't see it. And so I find it really stupid that there's any scribblings by any of them in here. Like, you got Greedo, you got Dengar, you got Bosk. Like, Bosk is retarded. He would not spend his time jotting down anything. He just wouldn't. And Boba Fett, I just don't see him jotting down things in there anyway. Unless it directly, like, pertain to his father, maybe, but, like, outside of that, like, Jango, I could see him maybe writing stuff in there, whatever. I just don't see Boba doing it. I don't see him caring enough to do that, but it is what it is. But it's pretty standard. You don't really get that much here. The final section of the book is actually, like, this hidden manifesto, which focuses on the Death Watch from Open Seasons, but also includes the Filoniverse stuff, because this is one of the later things written. So it doesn't really fix anything, but it does kind of provide a little bit more context for certain things and make it a little bit better. Like, it does mention different clans of Mandalorians. Like, it mentions the Ordos, which would include, you know, Cal Skirata and everything, and his whole faction with the Ordos. But that was kind of interesting. It was probably the most interesting part of this whole thing. But overall, it's your standard, like, source book. Just disguised as an in-universe book, you know? So, I mean, some of the interesting things in here. So we have, like, Herdosk. Coco's being angry again. Give me 1 second. Anyway, apologies about that. Some of the things we get in here is Herdosk writes some things, being Bosk's father, so that's a little bit fun. Jango in this book writes a lot to Boba, which I thought was kind of nice. And then there's a specific part where Boba writes something to his daughter, which is relevant because of the two comics that have his daughter in it. And then, of course, the fact that she's in Legacy of the Force and stuff. And by retcon was in Young Jedi Knight, so that was kind of cool. But other than that, like, the Death Watch section was kind of interesting. It explained a little bit more of, like, the Duchess Satine and how that all works apart from what we see elsewhere. It doesn't exactly fix anything, but it does provide more context, which is a little bit better than what we had before. You got Jango calling the Death Watch liars and all that, and not true Mandalorians and all that stuff. You got Tor Vizsla saying the same thing about, you know, Jango and his crew, Jasper Muriel. So that stuff is interesting. It's probably the most interesting part of the book. Of course, if you like bounty hunters, this whole book might be very appealing to you. I have never lied about my standards about this. I've never liked bounty hunters. I find them very boring, and so, you know, like, and most of the stuff I kind of already knew, but, you know, it just provides very good lore for bounty hunters in this universe if you care about that sort of thing, especially because the Bounty Hunters Guild, like, guide is kind of during the time of the Empire, so explains how the bounty hunters worked within Imperial, law and all that. So that was kind of interesting. But outside of that, it's like, where's the Jedi Path and the Book of the Sith that I actually recommend to you? I wouldn't really recommend this unless you're really, really, really hard bounty hunter fan. But even then, it doesn't really add much that you wouldn't get outside of the stories themselves, outside of like explicitly stating how these organizations work and how that all functions and is, I know there's a lot of fans that like care about these little minute details. I am not one of them. I'm in it for lore, I'm in it for story, I'm in it for character development, which, Book of Sith actually gave me additional information that I feel I didn't really know before, or at least provided more context. And then gave me some new questions. And then the Jedi Path just also had a lot of little intriguing moments. But I just did not feel this as much. But it's something you can get if you want to fill out your expanded universe roster. It does count as expanded universe material, and it has that novelty of being an in-universe written work, which is kind of interesting. But that's pretty much it, guys. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share them a ton. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you when we talk about the final kind of source book type thing before I get back to legit stories and whatnot, being the Imperial Handbook. Until next time, guys, may the Force be with you.